Hi there, I'm Randy Patterson and this is Psychology Salon, a channel about psychological issues. If you like this kind of thing, click subscribe. In the health professions, there's a common lament from the research scientists. We spend all this money and do all this work to carry out the science and find out what's effective, but the clinicians who are supposed to be using the results don't apply it. Why not? Well, actually, there's a fairly simple answer. It doesn't explain everything, but it's a pretty obvious one, and it's staring us all in the face. I look frustrated. I am, hence the video. Not long ago, I decided to run a monthly journal club for mental health clinicians on the subject of failure to launch, which, if you view videos on this channel with any regularity, you'll know is one of my interests. Young adults who are having difficulty managing the transition to independence and self-sustainability, sometimes known as instances of failure to launch, a term I dislike, or hikikomori, or NEET, not in education, employment, or training. So my big idea is that every month we'll get together online to discuss a single research article on some aspect of this subject. And it's my job to find the articles, and they have to meet a few criteria. First, they have to be on topic. Second, they can't be 100 pages long. And third, the people in the group have to have access to them. Now that last bit sounds obvious. There are libraries, right? And there's something called, what is it again? Oh, the internet. So this should be easy. One of the big ideas about the internet was that it was going to bring the entirety of human knowledge to our fingertips. We'll all get smarter because we can tap into science and literature and art all day long. Well, you know how that worked out. Instead, it's kiddie videos and makeup tutorials and conspiracy theories, and the human capacity for critical thought just seems to be vanishing. But listen, if we go down that path, we'll be here all day. So, what's the problem? The practitioners in my group are mostly in outpatient programs, mental health units, and private practice. And what happens when they go do what they're supposed to do, which is look at the research related to the problems they see. Well, try it yourself. Go to Google Scholar and run a search on anything. Sunspots, failure to launch, whale poop, whatever. You get a lot of results. Click on them. You get the abstract, the summary, and you remember what that's for. It's only to give you a rough idea of what the article says, so you can decide whether or not to read the whole thing. You're not supposed to mistake the abstract for the real thing because half the time it's misleading. So click wherever it tells you to get the whole article. Chances are it'll take you to a payment page like this one. This is for an article that's 7 pages long, and the cost to see it is $56 US. Now, I will let you in on a secret. No clinician is going to pay $56 to see an article that they might be vaguely interested in. I've been in psychology for over 35 years, sometimes with a university, sometimes a hospital, and mostly in private practice, and I have never once paid $56 to read an article. I've asked around. No one I know has ever done that. So, who reads these sequestered articles? People affiliated with universities. You get access to the library system, which buys open access to all or most of these journals. So if you're a researcher, what does it cost you to read that article? Nothing. And you don't even have to go to the library. You get it online. That's how the system is supposed to work. Researchers at universities or academically linked hospitals conduct studies to advance knowledge about healthcare and treatment, and then practitioners working at the coalface, that's you, the client or patient, you're the coalface, are supposed to learn from this great work and put it into practice. That's why they call us practitioners, because we practice what they develop. And people whine, why don't those lazy practitioners pay attention? We do all this work, we figure out how to make things better, and do they just sit down and read this damn stuff? No, they go on doing whatever flaky thing they learned 30 years ago. But it's not laziness. Sure, you do all that work, you write it up, it gets published, and who has access to it? You do. Not the people who are supposed to apply it, just you. And why is it that you are sitting in an echo chamber? Why don't the practitioners read it? Because we're not allowed to. Nonsense, you say. You are. Just pay your $56, $8 a page, read it. But you've never done that yourself. You don't have the money to pay that to read research, but you don't need that money because it's free. Clinicians don't have that money either because you don't learn that much from a single study. That's not how science works. You have to get a general sense of where the research is pointing, and for that, you have to read more. Nobody has that much money. When you do have access, you discover that there may be 1 in 10 articles actually tells you something useful. And to get those 10 articles, you would spend $560 for the 7 pages that actually address your clients. Or, hey, you might be thinking, why not subscribe to a journal or two? It's far cheaper than buying them article by article. But reading research isn't like flipping through a back issue of Cosmo. In any given issue of any journal, the odds of finding an article that relates to a concern I'm researching are slim. That's not how anyone keeps up in the 21st century. There are hundreds of places to publish articles on any given subject, and you want access to all of them. Why, oh why, is there such a gulf between research and practice? Because in effect, these charges mean that practitioners are not able to see the research. Okay, now the truth is, there are workarounds. I can get adjunct status at a university. But do most people get that? No. Or we can hire student assistants who have access to the university and get them to use their access for us. That's actually pretty common. In my case, I've got good access and I read a lot, but 90% of practitioners couldn't see most of the research literature if they tried, unless they're independently wealthy. You can also write the original author of the study, and they might send you a PDF, if they're so inclined, eventually, if they're not busy, which they are. What's the solution? I don't know. Though the PLOS, Public Library of Science, system of free, open access, online publishing is a good start. But listen, for God's sake, stop whining about lazy practitioners not reading your research. If you want them to read it, let them see it. And if we're not willing to do that, why bother doing the research? Save your money. Oh, and what about my journal club? I turned it into a discussion group. I spent 2 hours looking for an article that people on my list could access without paying, and I failed. I give up. At least now I know why nobody else does journal clubs out here in the real world. There are other videos on this channel on the psychology of everyday life. Click the subscribe button for more. I also have an online course site, psychologysalon.teachable.com, with programs for professionals and for the general public. And my books, How to Be Miserable, 40 Strategies You Already Use, How to Be Miserable in Your 20s, and the Assertiveness Workbook are available from online booksellers. Thanks for watching.